In today's episode, we're talking about Olympia Trust, who recently announced that they're no longer going to be allowed for lenders to go 100% loan to value, and they're only going to allow them to go 90% loan to value. So, we're going to talk about how this may impact future investments. Stay tuned. Welcome to the next episode of Same Page. I'm your host, Sarah Simagist.
And I'm Lenard Simagist.
Today we're talking about a new rule that Olympia Trust adjusted, I should say. And this is the fact that they're no longer allowing lenders to go 100% loan to value. Now you can only go 90% loan to value. So before we get into all of this, I want to explain what Olympia Trust and who Olympia Trust is. Olympia Trust, essentially, it's this institute, I guess, in Canada who allows people to use their registered funds, so RSP, LIRA, or ESP, for example, and invest that into real estate. Most people think that they can only invest that in mutual funds or stocks, but you can actually invest through Olympia Trust, and there's another company in Canada, I believe, but I'm not sure of their name. But Olympia Trust is the most popular one,
Yeah.
and you can utilize those funds to invest in real estate. The benefit of that is that you can set your own terms, so you're not subject to what the mutual funds accounts are doing or the stock market is doing. You can negotiate your own interest rate, your own terms, how you're getting paid, etc. So I think that's one benefit of that. The con, or one thing that is not ideal, is that you can't lend it and get equity in the property. So essentially, sometimes people will lend you money and they'll say, in exchange, I'm gonna get a share of ownership. So whether that's 10%, 15%. But when it's registered funds, you're not allowed to get a share of the property. You're just allowed to lend arm's length, and that's it. So you can't lend to your brother, your cousin, any immediate family. It has to be at arm's length. So that's just a little brief overview of who Olympia Trust is. So when you heard the news, did you react? What did you think about it?
I didn't necessarily react, but at the same time, based on the current market condition, knowing that lenders are definitely scrutinizing borrowers a lot more in this market. That's something that we've noticed either through some of the refis that we've done and whatnot, and seeing other people go through certain processes as well. So like, when I heard this news about Olympia Trust, it's like, okay, like they're reducing our borrowing power, they're reducing our chances to get into certain deals. That being said, you just have to be more creative. You gotta make sure your numbers make sense. So it's like it's just about adjusting with what the current situation presents itself.
I have to say, I wasn't surprised at the news. Essentially, they're saying that if your property is worth $1 million, you can't put a mortgage of $1 million on there. You have to put 90%, so $900,000 would be the max that you can borrow to register on the property. So as a mortgage, you can borrow, as a promissory note or something like that, but you just can't register it on the property, which it reduces the risk for the lender.
Yes.
So, and I'll explain why. Essentially, right now in this market, we have seen a drop in the market. So houses are not selling for as much as they did a couple of years back during exactly COVID times, right? So basically, the reason they're doing this is kind of to protect themselves. So let's say you buy a property for $1 million, and you're trying to resell, and then you borrow $1 million to buy a property. So you go all the way to $1 million, and then 6 months later you try to sell the property, but the market has reduced, and you can only sell it for $800,000. That means that if you sell it for $800,000, you won't be able to pay back your lenders the whole $1 million, you're going to be short $200,000. So now, to sort of correct or reduce that risk, Olympia Trust is saying, okay, well, we're not going to take the risk of lending you 100% of what you need for the property. We're just going to go at 90%. Banks, actual traditional banks, typically they only go to 80% for that reason, and that has been like this for many years. But at least for us recently, some banks will actually not go to 80%. They'll go to like 70, 75.
Yeah.
So they've already try to reduce their risk. And Olympia Trust is kind of following the same trend. The only thing is that they were already at 100%, so now they're going to 90. So you can still borrow more through Olympia Trust. It's just that you can't go to 100%.
Exactly. So yeah, so essentially, lenders want to see you have some skin in the game.
Yes.
So that's why. So in most cases, you'll have to put some more money down in order to secure a deal and
Yes.
and to secure financing.
100%. One of the ways that I feel like this can impact investors is on the refinance. So some investors currently, they have borrowed 100% loan to value, right? But if your term is coming up for a renewal, Olympia Trust may not allow you to borrow the same amount, right? So if you still need to keep, if your project is not done, let's say, you need another year of borrowing, Olympia Trust might say, okay, well, now you can only borrow 90% of what your property is worth, which means that if you're missing $100,000, if you had borrowed,
The full million.
the full million, and now you can only borrow $900,000, you have to find $100,000 in order to refinance your property, and that's something that you may not have expected, and you may have to find very quickly, and that also means that whoever is lending you that $100,000, either they're securing on your property, right, in second or third position at 100% loan to value, or they're lending you at a promissory note or maybe a joint venture agreement, but the risk is higher for them as well, right? So you may have to just, I don't know, you get very creative, like you said, in order to continue your project, depending if you were already leveraged at 100% loan to value.
Yeah, these times are very interesting. So definitely, if you do have access to money, then you're king. Especially when it comes to if you're in a position to lend that capital to people, then you're definitely in a position of power in this market.
Cash is king.
Cash is king.
Try to become the lender and not the borrower. That's definitely one of our goals.
That's the plan.
So let us know if this new rule has impacted any of your deals. How are you dealing with it? If you had to get creative, and what did you do? I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear, just ideas on how to get out of this little pickle, because it can be very stressful if you're going through a refinance at this time, or even if you're going through a purchase and you thought that you were going to be able to borrow 100% loan to value, and now you're missing X amount and you have to raise it within 3 days.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, don't forget to
live your truth.